Welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name's Rich Tehrani. Thank you so much for watching us. We are at the Cloud Expo 2011 in Santa Clara, California. On our program is Marc Wilkinson. He is a Director of Cloud Global Practice at HP. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thanks, nice to meet you, Rich.
Likewise. What's HP's play in the cloud? What's happening right now?
Well, as you can imagine, HP is a particularly large organization. We've got a number of capabilities. One of the things we've actually spent a lot of time on this year is actually bringing together the story and bringing the business units together into a cohesive solution for organizations. So one of the key areas we're putting a lot of emphasis on of late is actually around the cloud system. So the cloud system is where we're taking our industry standard servers and the power we have within the converged infrastructure on the hardware side, but we're marrying that with the software, the automation, the service management, the capabilities around that, with the consulting for the solution delivery. So we're finding that's a really good way of giving a customer an entry point into cloud, get their feet wet, but actually then scales up to being able to deliver a public cloud service from the same platform. So it's actually a great way of actually scaling the capabilities.
And you're one of the companies that really produces a tremendous amount of hardware that can be utilized in the cloud, right? I mean, you've got networking, you've got high-powered, high-performance computers, storage, right? I mean, you really have a lot of pieces there.
Yeah, and in fact, this has been one of the strategic directions we've been going. So we use the term converged infrastructure. It's actually the ability to have that hardware, that servers, the storage, whether it's storage area networks or actually locally attached, whether it's the compute and the blades, but actually controlled and managed in a similar way in a similar environment. So we can actually then drive it through a common fabric.
It seems that in terms of cloud, you really are in this situation where you've got this win-win, because if you've got a hybrid situation where customers have some of your equipment on their premise and some in the cloud, I mean, you win there. If they go all cloud and it's your equipment, you win there, right? So it's...
Yeah, and in fact, this is where the power of the software also comes through. So frequently, you'll see there's a lot of management capabilities around managing cloud entities, whether it's your private cloud or your public cloud, but they almost have forgotten that there's an existing world, the legacy environment where they've already got the existing physical machines, the applications that need to be modernized and moved. And with the software acquisitions we've made and the merge and the work we did around OpenView all those years ago, and when we brought on Mercury 5-6 years ago, we've actually been able to pull that together into the IT performance suite as to how we can actually manage and deliver value across the, if you like, the old world, as we would like to say it, the Cloud Expo, but also into the new world. So helping people understand and manage services across both, but also how they can modernize and move an application from maybe a traditional delivery model to a more hybrid or flexible service delivery model.
Now, do you deal with end customers often?
Yeah, I would say that about half my time is on portfolio, so listening to requirements from marketing, from analysts, from customers, and affecting our portfolio from a consulting services perspective. But the other half is actually going out and talking to customers and almost understanding not only where they want to be now, but really where they want to go and how they see that value being realized.
So what are some of the biggest challenges, or even mistakes, that companies make before they decide to get into the cloud? Are there things that you can advise them on that they should be aware of?
So some of the key pitfalls that we see frequently coming up, I would say the fact that frequently it's actually about understanding of semantics. We're speaking the same language mostly. There's the Atlantic Ocean sitting in between us, but actually what you'll find is that people have read a lot about the cloud. They have a view of what it means, but it isn't necessarily consistent. So often, the good starting place is actually to sit down to articulate the strategy and the vision. Where are you actually going with cloud? What do you want to get from it, right? I know it sounds consultative, but It doesn't involve necessarily any third parties. It's not necessarily something you need to employ in a consultancy engagement for, but internally, so that when someone talks about cloud, it might be infrastructure as a service, and they understand what that's going to give them. To someone else, it might be software as a service.
Right.
It might be onboarding Salesforce.com as an example.
Right.
Well, that's very different and brings with it different requirements.
Right.
So we see that frequently people have jumped headlong into the cloud execution without getting that alignment on where they want to go and the value they see it bringing to the business.
So competitively, what do you see as the biggest threat right now?
To cloud in general and to suppliers like HP, I think that we need to see a little bit more consolidation. I think not just in terms of suppliers and companies, but actually so that we get some consistency about what a service is. So that when I buy infrastructure as a service from you, or when I sell infrastructure as a service, we have a balance of what that is. So I think one of the things that we as providers need to work with, maybe it's with the Open Data Center Alliance that Intel mentioned yesterday on main stage, we actually need to get some more consistency there to deliver more value to the customer base. Without that, I think we start getting into maybe going back to the OSF versus Unix International wars of the late 80s, early 90s, where there were two Unix vendors fighting over the same thing. Meanwhile, Windows went and took over the world. So I think we need to get some consistency and consolidation in messaging and services.
Interesting analogy. So I mean, I liken it also potentially even prior to that, just all the mini computers that there were prime computers and VAX and numerous other mini computers.
If you look at how we've accelerated upon standardizing around the x86 architecture, the world actually moved forward at quite a pace once we'd got a level of set standards and a foundation to work
also
on.
wiped out a lot of companies, so that's an interesting. I mean, it's just something worth throwing out there. So there are some companies probably that wouldn't be thrilled to do it.
But I think that's part of the challenge. I think that's why it is a little bit competitive, because it's not necessarily there's one company or another, but it's about the fact that there will be winners and losers in a standardization like that.
That's great, and it's inevitable.
Yeah. The customer base will demand it.
Thanks for being here today.
No, thanks a lot.
Marc.